Now, in the past few weeks, Indian students have been witnessing a sharp rise in rejection of student visa permits by the Canadian government. Reports suggest that the student visa permit rejections have spiked to almost 60% in the past few days. Now, rejection of the visas have been on the rise since the COVID-19 restrictions and air travel ban lifted in 2021. Experts have cited several reasons: the high pendency rate of applications in different categories, fraud documentation by students in some cases, also licensing issues with certain private colleges for the increased rejection of visa permits for Indian students. As far as the Canadian High Commission, what they have said on these visa delays and rejections for Indians, they have said that applicants from all countries are assessed equally, that highly trained officers assess each application, that the same criteria is set for applicants from all countries, and that priority for applications to territories with COVID readiness plans. So that is their reaction to this news of high visa rejections. Well, to talk more about this issue, we're now joined by Mehtab Singh, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, Mohit Mishra, a student who's in a difficult situation after his visa was not granted, Colonel Girish Sharma, Executive Director, International Affairs, Manav Rachna University, and Seher, who's also a student who was looking to go to Canada. Well, first, let's go across to Mohit. Mohit, if you could share what happened to you with us.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, good morning, everyone. Firstly, thank you, NDTV, for giving me the opportunity to express my views in this big platform. Actually, ma'am, I applied my visa during the pandemic situations. Due to COVID, students have seen a sharp rejections and airlines getting banned. And my family also did not allow me to go abroad because of COVID.
All right. So that is when you saw your visa application being, rejected, and then next? Now what's happening?
Ma'am, I felt very sad when my visa got cancelled. It was my dream to do my higher educations from abroad, especially Canada. Further, I don't apply visa because application process for Canada visa has become a rather lengthy process from 9 to 12 months. That's why I cannot apply visa again.
Right, that's what we're hearing. It's become extremely lengthy. Mehtab Singh, if you could, tell us about the reasons that you are seeing why there's such a huge rejection of visas.
Yes, as the student has earlier told, we are facing this major issue, and I'll say it an issue because earlier the backlog situation was getting worsened, but what we are witnessing now is the rejection rate has risen a lot. So even if the profile is good, even if we go according to the Canadian immigration law, still we have no answer why the visa applications are being rejected. I have witnessed myself wonderful students from Delhi University with 80% score and 8 bands. They are getting rejections, and there's no criteria for that. Even if they're fulfilling the eligibility, we have no answer. When they ask us, we have no answer because they have actually fulfilled everything, the minimum requirement, but still they are getting rejected. And I feel it's the backlog of the cases that's making the things worse, because the main processing time, if you could search even, it's 12 weeks. But now it's taking more than 6 months. And there are a few courses or few colleges that have one batch throughout 1 year. So even if a student is not allowed to go to one batch, his time, his efforts, his money is all wasted, and all he gets is admission next year. So this is the problem that we are witnessing nowadays.
And would you say there's some kind of a bias that you feel? Is it because of, past cases, like we said, fraud documentation and, wrong claims? Also, certain colleges that were found to, not be properly regulated. Is this the reason that it's all now built up and there's a certain amount of bias, concerning Indian applications?
No, I won't say that they are biased because the application is processed based on the profile. But saying it as a bias or not will not be, correct. But there's surely a backlog. We have witnessed fraud cases. There are a few consultants back in India who are very much into these things. And sometimes the scrutiny they go through is very lengthy. So this thing is also making a delay. And the other factor is the COVID backlog. That's what I infer out of it. The other factor that I've come across is the Ukraine factor. They are giving more stress to the people who are stuck in Ukraine. And this thing is also delaying the processing time.
Right. In fact, that we've seen in a lot of visa applications in various countries, this sort of, because of the Ukraine applications, that a lot of the others are getting backlogged. Seher, if you could, share your experience with us.
Okay, hello. I am a commerce student and I have graduated with distinction grades. And during my undergraduation years, I had planned to pursue my further education in Canada. And I realized that it's a lengthy process. And after doing research and taking advice from my counselor, I was certainly in two minds, as I didn't want to risk wasting my time. And with time, I got enough information and confirmation from friends and family who were planning to study in Canada as well. I was aware that the Canadian student visa takes 4 to 6 months to process, but this was pre-COVID. The situation drastically changed. It could be for many reasons, like we all mentioned. It could be due to the increase in refugees in their country, the increase in unemployment rates, or high rate of applications from our country. The student visa process now takes over 8 to 9 months, and that's a lot of time. The fact that we didn't see it coming is what led to time being wasted for so many bright students. I know friends who have excelled academics and they come from well-off financial backgrounds as well too, but it didn't help them either. So the situation is very uncertain, as none of the students rejected have received any formal explanation as well. So hence, applying to Canada is a risk for me, and my counselor suggested, and even I felt like, applying in a different country.
Right. It must be very disappointing, to have the marks and the aptitude and wanting to apply. Absolutely. And having this, dream of going perhaps to Canada to fulfill your studies and, follow further studies. Colonel Girish Sharma, if you could, share with us what your experience has been and what are you now advising students?
Good morning to you. I think the students have already spoken. It is the lack of transparency in grant of visa and the uncertainty combined with the time delay that it is taking, which is adversely impacting students volunteering to go to Canadian colleges and universities. From the institutional perspective, since I had the international office, we have institutionalized collaborative programs with few colleges and universities in Canada. But I don't see students forthcoming to opt for these programs, basically because of the ambiguity in the time period that they will get visas and the lack of transparency, because of which reasons the students are opting for other countries. So I think this mechanism should have been put in place, and the high demand for visa should have been anticipated well in advance.
All right. And so this is something we've seen of late, especially after, as we said, restrictions were lifted. And this transparency issue is definitely something that must be very frustrating, because when the students have the marks, they have admission to very good universities, and then to get rejected and not be told, what the reason for rejection is very frustrating.
Absolutely.
And that's something that you've been seeing students are facing. Astha Srivastav, you're somebody who wants to go to Canada to study further. Now, what are you thinking? Have you rethought your plans?
Yes, of course. I had planned to go to Canada, but due to the situations back there and the visa process, it's taking a lot of time. But I think in near future, something can happen, and, it can really better the situation for future students and for me as well, because I just graduated, and I'll be hoping to graduate, do my post graduation from Canada. So yeah, I think the situation should get better, and
All right. Mehtab Singh, do you feel that could happen? A very optimistic view there by Astha, and hoping that the situation will better going forward. And, perhaps if the backlog can be dealt with, etc., one of the reasons that you felt was the reason for so many rejections. Perhaps in a year or two, if, students who are watching and planning, do you think the situation could better?
Definitely, definitely. I'm very optimistic about it. And I really feel like the situation is getting better. But the amount of suffering the students are having, it should be expedited. Like, they are trying a lot, they are investing a lot, they are hiring a lot, IRCC. But still, the situation is, it's getting better. But the amount of speed at which it should get better is not very good. But I really want to give a message to the students, like, definitely do not panic. The situation is getting better, and I'm very hopeful that in coming days it'll be better.
All right. Well, on that optimistic note, we'll end this discussion. But thank you so much, students, and all the best for your future plans. And thank you both Mehtab Singh and Colonel Sharma for joining us on the program. And this is a very concerning issue, of course, and hopefully things will better in the months to come.